Welcome to Crafty Brewers, Tales Behind Craft Beer, the podcast that will increase your enjoyment of craft beer and the people who make it, or you're really not listening long enough. Yeah, that's right. On this episode, we go from grain to glass with the creative team from Black Horizon Brewing Company in Willowbrook, Illinois. We bust a beer myth regarding dark beer, and we shine a harsh spotlight on bad customer behavior. Somebody, God forbid, they mislabeled my co-host. I'm beer drinker and Hellraiser Brian Noonan. With me, as always, she is the femme fatale of fermentation. She is the Baroness of brews. She is the high priestess of hops. She is, of course, the co-owner and chief everything officer of Exit Strategy Brewing Company in Forest Park, Illinois. It's Katherine Vallow. You like that new one?
You are on literal fire.
You like that new descriptor?
Things are happening.
Yes.
Hey, buddy.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
Good. Now,
hang on, wait, I'm going to interrupt you real quick. Did you know that you can stream this so you don't just have to listen to your soothing vocal tones? You can watch this unfold before your eye parts on Spotify and on the YouTubes.
I did know that, and I've gone back to audio only.
Sure, yeah.
Just because I don't like to look at myself. But yes, you are right. That's what I was going to lead you. But other people might want to see us. I've had people tell me they enjoy watching it because we're a visual medium.
We are a visual
Speaking of visual mediums, you're probably thinking, well, there's three people at the table, only two are talking. Let me introduce our guest real quick.
Let's not be rude.
No, let's not be rude. Alex Stankus is one of the co-owners and the head brewer of the aforementioned Black Horizon Brewing Company in Willowbrook, Illinois. Hello, Alex.
Hello.
Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I was hoping I was going to get a really cool wrestling introduction as well. But maybe next time.
Nope, that's all right. We can go ahead. We're gonna
see if you would put that. I would have come up with something.
You know what?
Cody,
right now,
Cody, you have a mic. Can you do an off mic? Can you give us a wrestling introduction for Alex?
Or can it be Monster Trucky?
From parts unknown, hailing from the tiny island of Tonga, weighing in at 225 pounds. He comes to you, the AWA title holder and the only champion to ever come out of a brewery in Willowbrook, Illinois.
There it is.
Please welcome the 5-time brewing champion, Alex Stankus!
Loved
the
it.
Stank Monster.
And I'm glad you got the 225 part right, too. That was spot on.
I used to work at the carnival. A lot of people don't know that. I never lost a stuffed animal.
Excellent.
Thank you. Well, we're glad you're here. We always start out by busting a beer myth. Now, because I am, unlike you and Katherine, I am not an expert in beer. I've just been drinking it since I was a wee lad, and I've heard things growing up. This I've heard, and Katherine and Alex, maybe you can dispel this. When it comes to dark beer, stouts or something, they're heavier. Everybody, they're so heavy.
God.
And they have more alcohol.
This is one of my pet PV beer myths. I hate this one. I can't stand this one. This one really, it just gets right under my skin and just burrows like a angry tick.
Wow.
I know this one's rough. I don't like this one at all because I am a dark beer lover. I love dark beer. So I think the first thing to bust is using the word heavy. There is this weird connotation where dark beers, they're so heavy.
Do people mean that like syrupy? What do you think?
Here's the thing. It's just not the right adjective to use for beer in general, but they think color-wise.
Right.
Okay, so the darkness is going to make that beer sit heavier. It's going to make it feel heavier, these things. These things are not true. Dark beer gets its color from one source.
Alex, pop quiz.
And that is going to be the malt.
Oh,
yeah, there it is,
look
right?
At that.
So what we like to say to bust this beer myth, if we want to do it real quick, we can talk longer about it. But what I do when anyone comes in, they're like, it's so heavy. Can't drink it. It's so heavy. It just is this and that. Do you ever drink coffee is my first question to anyone who will be like, I just can't with dark beers. So heavy. No, I've black coffee every morning. Okay, so you are ingesting a roasted bean into your body that way, and now you are ingesting roasted malt into your body this way. There is really not a whole lot of difference.
Okay, fair enough.
That's the first,
sure.
The first part of it. The second part of that beer myth is dark beer being heavier in alcohol than lighter beers, which, you guys can speak to. That's not true even a
Yeah,
little
absolutely.
bit.
I think that's the biggest common misconception with anything dark.
Yeah.
Is that color perception, that it's dark, it's heavy, it's going to be just roasty and thick. But we get a lot of times, it's one of my favorite questions asked when somebody comes in, especially as we're going into fall, winter, darker beer season, is you'll have somebody that comes up to the bar and says, I like a heavy beer like a Guinness. Like a real heavy beer like a Guinness.
Like
like 4.5 alcohol.
Yeah, or
and
4.2.
You can drink it like water.
And
Guinness, heavy Guinness beer.
Yeah. So I mean, that's one of those ones I go, well, then you don't want a heavy beer. That's not what you're looking for. But it's that common misconception of color and just the style, because we love doing dark beer that's sessionable.
Yeah.
Black Pilsner, Schwartz beer, all that stuff is phenomenal. Easy drinking, light, crisp, low ABV. So it's kind of fun to kind of bend that style, because people see that. They're like, ooh, it's just so dark. And then it's drinking like a lager.
Are people confused because they hear so much now about barrel-aged stouts?
100%.
Which are heavier. They're way high in alcohol.
They all taste like soy sauce after like 10 sips. Sorry, they do.
right.
Every single one of them.
Wow, hot take.
It's really high. I
Hot
told you I'm a
take.
little fiery tonight. I apologize
take.
in advance.
But so, all right, so how do you then, other than what you said, and you guys educating people when they come to the bar, we can't break this myth, can we? I believed it when I was a kid. Like when I was 18, 19.
But you broke
I
it
looked
yourself,
at Guinness, and I was
my
like,
friend.
oh, that can't be. Now I drink Guinness, just between beers as a chaser.
Sure. Because again, you're looking at a beer that is dark in color,
Right.
but clocks in at 4.5%, which
Nothing.
generally now is, that's lower than most American pales. It's lower than it's lower than a lot of lagers. Like anything under 5 now is
agreed.
really something. But we continue to see the trend in the industry of lower alcohol beers being more widely consumed. So keeping our dark beers low, I think, is important.
All right, I'm just teasing Cody because he had a big thing today. And Alex, you're here for the inception of this. Cody was going to put a big clock on so that I knew how to keep us on time.
All right.
And yet the clock timed out, so it's been blank for the last 5 minutes.
Right, which means we're now completely
that's
off, and
fine.
that's fine.
That's all right.
Yeah, listen.
Fine.
True
Cody loves to
professionalism
edit.
is you got that mental
Cody
clock,
is
right?
a perfect. Yeah, it's like, okay, we've busted the myth. So as we wrap that up, no, all dark beers are not heavy.
No.
And
Absolutely
really,
not,
is it-
yeah.
All right, so heavy, you said, Katherine, is a bad adjective, which I agree. Alex, what would you use as an adjective for like a dark beer that is a little higher in alcohol, a little stronger than, like you said, a Schwartz beer or a dark lager or something, or a Guinness or something like
Well,
that?
you could say richer. You could say a richer mouthfeel and stuff, because alcohol is going to give you texture the higher it goes as far as ABV and stuff. But you could also make a relatively richer low ABV beer. Just depends on kind of your recipe design and stuff. But I'd say probably richness, heavy. Well, I'm going to say heavy now that we're talking about it so
say
much.
it,
But bigger
Say it, make
mouthfeel as far
Catherine
as
go
that
crazy.
goes. But yeah, I'd say probably richness. Okay,
It's a good one. It's a
just
really good
segue
one.
away from heavy.
Yes, richness
Yeah,
is good.
because I think heavy itself has a negative connotation, just as a general word. Sometimes you're like,
Yeah.
no, I don't want.
right, because
those
you're just
things,
then you get
right?
logie. It's like you get the beer sweats instead of the meat sweats.
Right, you don't want to be like groggy after your beer.
Yeah, an imperial stout can be heavy. A barley wine can be
Yes.
heavy. A wheat wine can be heavy, and that's because there's just a lot of alcohol and weight behind those beers.
Literal, actual grain weight,
Yes.
like actual weight of grain. Right.
Well, let me reintroduce our guest. Alex Stankus is here. He's the co-owner and the head brewer of Black Horizon Brewing Company in Willowbrook, Illinois. Again, we're glad you're here. So much to learn, but I know, Katherine, would first the conversation you guys want to have, because this is where I am woefully inadequate in the beer conversation. I have zero ink. And you and Katherine are very well inked. Katherine was admiring your ink. What was your first tattoo?
Back of my arm, it's of course it's going to be a band tattoo. As
Sure,
a
yeah.
musician, because I was 18 years old and angsty and all of that, so we had to make sure to follow the normal tropes and stereotypes and that. So,
Okay.
been a collector ever since. I like more of the American traditional work, just because I know I'm going to get real wrinkly and old, and I like being in the sun when I can. So I needed stuff that's going to hold the test of time.
And it really will. That style is such a great. It's just so good when it ages. Like it ages well. I love American traditional. It ages.
I don't
really,
know
really
what
well.
that means. Please explain.
Bigger, bolder line work.
Okay.
So
okay.
big, thick black lines are going to keep the ink in there. As you
okay.
age, as the skin gets more malleable and stretches.
Oh, that's why you see some like older veterans who got the hula girl when they were in,
and
in the
it's
Navy or
and
whatever.
you can still tell what it is. It's
Yep.
like, oh, I can still tell what that is.
Yeah, and that's the kind of popularity of that style is it's going to be lasting because, it's on your body forever. You might as well get what you pay for. Never cheap out on a tattoo.
Oh,
it's
God.
a life lesson there. Never,
You
ever.
heard it here first, kids.
Never,
if you're
ever.
going to commit to a good artist, think about it for a little bit of time. You don't have to think about it for years. That's ridiculous. But yeah, if you're going to collect, I love that you used the word collector. I do that all the time too. I consider myself an art collector, and everyone's like, in your home? No, on my skin.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I love that.
Mobile gallery.
What is the,
right,
the
the
dot
canvas.
work? Like the what is that? It's kind of over the tattoo.
Yeah, it goes. It's all filler just in between it. Just filler in
just
between
filler?
everything, and
Okay.
it's kind of like a 1940s, 1950s kind of sailor style.
What is it about the beer industry that attracts people who love ink?
I think it's just a creative industry. It's a lot of people that want to express themselves in various ways, whether it be crazy gauges or piercings or massive beards or a bunch of tattoos.
Okay.
How you get to work, whether you're riding your fixed gear bicycle or 10-speed or anything like that.
Shouts to Will Turner.
I
Are
also
you on
own
your
a fixed gear
skateboard?
bicycle,
Do
so
you?
I'll go on the record and
You
say
also
that
have
I
one
have
of those
that.
ones with a giant front wheel and the tiny back wheel?
No, if I could buy one, I probably would, though.
Do you wear a bowler as you go to work?
No, classic
that's
hat guy. I wear my hat backwards.
All right, very cool.
Well, yeah, the breeze will blow it off otherwise. You got to right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Nice.
Aerodynamics, it's important.
There it is.
So, what brought you to this life of beer? You were doing something else before you joined forces with your other two partners at
Yes.
Black Horizon. What brought you to this life of beer?
I got into beer through kind of gourmet foods. So I have been in the food industry since about 1819. I was a coffee buyer, tea buyer, chocolate buyer, cheesemonger for about 7-8 years, ran a couple different specialty departments for various grocers, kind of went through the industry selling stuff more retail-wise that way, and then eventually kind of went into some buying roles, and I'm a massive foodie. So my whole life has always kind of been around food and beverage and that. And just right around when craft beer was really starting to peak, and I was, of course, of legal drinking age and only drinking appropriately, that, your eyes get open to not just terrible beer, because a lot of times my first experiences with beer were always the older brothers or sisters, friends of friends, leftover college beer, which was...
Do you remember your first beer?
No, I don't remember my first beer. I know it wasn't good. I know it wasn't good, and it was probably too warm and too old. But I do remember the first beer that got me into craft beer, and that was a New Belgian Fat Tire.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Very
just
good.
a classic. It's usually
Shout
one of those
out.
gateways.
It is. It's a great gateway one, isn't it?
Because I just remember opening it and taking a sip going, there's flavor here.
Yeah.
There's flavor here. And I was like, it's like bready and caramely. And you look at an amber nowadays, it's like, yeah, okay, whatever. But some of those styles were so definitive back then because there just wasn't that many
Yeah,
options.
right, yeah.
And a lot of people's early experience with different beer was a lot of the European imports and stuff where, skunky flavor was seen as that European flavor. And it's like, no.
Yeah, I never, and this is not a slam, Heineken was that for me. It was like,
Yep.
I don't know why everybody's
all
loving
about
this.
it, right?
Yeah, it was like, oh, it's
Tastes like a
salty
North American
and nasty.
skunk, right?
Yeah, it's not good. But you're right. With Fat Tire and those gateways, it opens your eyes, right? So once your eyes are open, once the scales have pulled away, and now you're like, there's a world of better beer out there.
Flavor, yes, truly flavor. So yeah, that kind of just really brought me into craft beer. I was really fortunate that one of my coworkers at one of my jobs way back when was a home brewer who actually had won some contests, competitions, and all of that. He ended up being a neighbor of mine, so he lived right down the road. So I asked him one day, I said, Can I help you? I've never seen beer be made. We sell beer, we sell wine, spirits, all this stuff, but I've never seen beer be made. And so went over there, started helping him homebrew, kind of just caught the brew bug. I'm very much a hands-on learner. So by our fourth, fifth batch, or at least mine helping him, I said, let me do it. And if I mess up somewhere, correct me. Because that's how I learn. I want to go through the motions. I want to feel it all out. So it started that way. I remember coming back to my parents and being like, hey, is it all right if I bring home some equipment to do stuff? And they're like, well, what are you doing? Well, I want to make a little beer. And they're like, well, okay, if you do that, it's not leaving the house and all this. Like, yeah, you can drink it as much as you want and this and that. So it was more about just the idea, the science behind it was really intriguing to me. So I messed around with, tons of different recipes and just kept home brewing for about 10 years before I started truly going into the commercial studies of beer.
When it got to the point where you'd been home brewing long enough, do you remember the one that you went, oh, I can do this. This turned out really good, and I've got a knack for this now. Yeah,
there's a couple recipes, and actually the one I brought here, the Oktoberfarce, is from one of those old recipes. So it has stood the test of time. It was my football beer, so I brewed it around Oktoberfest season and for the fall and that. The other one was a English porter. Because there were a couple recipes where people were just like, can I get a 6-pack of this or whatever? I'm like, well, bring a growler over. I can fill it off a kegerator for you. Or, because I wasn't doing a ton of bottling. I liked draft and kind of messed around with that. It really is.
Good
it really
Lord
is.
in heaven.
That's why I tell every home brewer and aspiring home brewer is learn to keg your beer. You're going to save yourself a lot of time and energy and all of that.
Like arthritis in your hands from the capper and Lord in heaven. Yeah. No. Mm-hmm.
So a couple different styles, but that's why I love this beer and I love this season is because this one is actually definitively represents me from like home brewing days.
Which is cool. Amazing.
And the fact that commercially we sell it, we've been selling it for 6 years and that people really love it and tell me it's one of their favorite kind of styles of the season that makes me feel good.
I'm kicking myself. I should have brought over more glasses because now I want to crack one open right this very second, which I can easily stand up and go get glasses, but we'll have to hit pause on the thing.
Yeah, or we chug these and then get to work.
Threaten me with a good time.
So I have had this in the past. I told you that before. It's great. Now so when you're going through all this and you decide, okay, I'm good at this now. I can do it. How do you make the jump from home brewer to being the head brewer at Black Horizon? Where that seems like a pretty big step.
Oh yeah, of course, because when you start home brewing, you make beer.
Right.
I'm not going to say it's okay. I'm not going to say it's good. You make beer, and and people look at you and they go, "It's good. Yeah, it's nice." So I was
it's
fortunate.
Literally the face that everybody makes. They're like, "Oh, look at you made a thing," and then you feel like you're in kindergarten with a finger painting some days, and other days you're like, "This is really fill in the blank good." But yeah, there's then the days where you're like, "Oh, thank you for your charitable response to my thing that I made at my home."
Yeah, it took me a month to make or whatever. Right, so yeah, you go from making beer, then you maybe make okay beer, and it's just about that refinement and that style and stuff. So I had a lot of really brutally honest friends, and I'd be like, do not sugarcoat this, because I have tough skin. I can do that. Mm-hmm. Let me know, because I want this to be something you would want to drink. So is it not malty enough? Is it not hoppy enough? Is it too hoppy? Like, give me it, gloves off.
Nice.
Let me know. And some of them would tear me apart. Mm-hmm. But then I go back to the drawing board, and then can I do it again, with their recommendations and stuff. So that was always one of those things that I aspired to and want valued criticism just from that standpoint. Because it's like being a chef, too. Especially brewing is creating a recipe, seeing it through. Does it need a little bit more herbs? Does it need a little more salt? Whatever. And you kind of want to get, your customer engaged with it that way. And you want to be receptive to, how it's being perceived by other people. Because you could drink it all day long in your home, basement, wherever, party, at a friend's house, but when it comes time to being on on a shelf, on a bar tap and all of that, you need to have your best product and best foot forward and stuff. So,
did you have a moment, and I asked this only because I remember when we were home brewing, we had a moment where we just could not stop laughing, where your first friend got tipsy from your product and you were like, oh my God, it worked.
Oh yeah.
We had a minute where I was like, our beer works. Look, he's drunk.
Yeah, you could feel it. And sometimes you could feel it too much because you're like, that pale ale is actually 9%. Oops, before you're investing in all your hydrometers and your gravity measuring devices and things like that. Yeah, absolutely. So
the it works moment is amazing for homebrewers. You're like, oh my God.
Yeah, it happens.
Look at this. It worked. It worked.
Yeah, so then just through homebrewing, I eventually went to the Siebel Institute of Technologies. So I went through several programs of theirs for advanced brewing sciences, master beer styles, blah, 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 blah. Just tried to pad out my resume as much as possible for the industry. And then at that time, since I was doing wine sales, I got my level 1 sommelier certification. So I've always wanted to just kind of be in beverage. So it was just my next level was getting technical, learning things, and, knowledge is power.
Had you known your partners before you got involved with Black Horizon?
No, I did not. It was through a friend I went to high school with, and he had a mutual family friend that kind of was knew a couple guys that they were doing this brewery project. I was already doing my own thing. I had actually purchased an entire 2-barrel brew house that I was warehousing.
Oh, wow.
So I said, if it ever happens, I have the equipment there, it's locked up. I want to do something really small and grow organically. So I didn't know them, but he kind of brought us together and said, hey, I know somebody else that's doing that. Some like-minded individuals and some great people that, we could make this happen if we pool our resources.
It's amazing.
Charles St. Clair and Kevin Baldus are your partners.
They are.
They were co-owners, and then they brought you in, and you became a co-owner as well, part of the ownership group.
Yeah, that was before Black Horizon. We had a name or anything like that. So we started our business talks and our legal documents and getting that all drafted before we committed to the name and all that. Black Horizon was always like what I had at home on like my little homebrewing chalkboard. And it really didn't mean anything other than it sounded like cool to me.
It does sound cool. It matches the logo.
After some trademark checks and that, it didn't really exist. It wasn't out there as a thing. So I was like, okay, maybe we use this name and go with it that way. And then as we became more legitimate and had the business kind of name settled on, we decided to go that way. We always joke and say that the reason we call it Black Horizon is that every business wants to be in the black. Right. And that's on our horizon.
There you
so
go.
We want to sell some beer and hopefully make some money. Short, sweet, to the point. There's no lore.
Perfect.
There's no story. There's no craziness.
That's
but
nice.
that was something, short and sweet. Sometimes a good thing.
We want to make money down the road.
Yeah, sell beer, make money. Sell good beer and make money.
The point of a business.
Yeah.
Yeah, you heard it here first.
You made the Oktoberfest beer when you were homebrewing. What are the challenges then of scaling it from, I was making a keg at my house, to now, 6 years later, people are clamoring for it. They can't wait for it to come out, and you've got to have it canned and ready to go.
Scaling was always kind of our thing, just getting bigger. We started on a 2-barrel system, so we bring 80 gallons of beer at a time, all day, every day. Because we opened 2017 with 8 taps, and did we never not have a beer on tap? So some of those batches were 4 half barrels.
Okay.
And you could go through that in a weekend of certain styles and things like that. So we truly grew organically. Our brew house is technically 8.5 barrels now, but we high gravity into 10s and 20s and stuff. So we can do larger batch sizes.
What does that mean for people who aren't in the industry?
Just the size of the tank. So
the high gravity part.
High gravity just means that we're making a really, really strong version of it.
Okay.
And then we're bringing it up to our barrelage level or our gallonage level with dilution.
Oh, okay.
So we're making a super potent version of it, and then we're
tap
bringing
into
it
that
to our level.
A little something from that super high octane.
Oh, you gotta try it.
Sure.
But that's all sugar water. So you can't really have too much fun with that.
Never
but,
mind.
It's just a style of brewing that works for us for our size.
Nice.
Because our capacity is still on the smaller side, even at 8.5 barrels. It feels like. But
I have to ask you, because I follow Black Horizon, a brewing company, on all the socials. I've been there before. You guys have embraced something that I don't see everywhere else. What's the deal with the slushy? Where did
the beer slushies?
The beer slushy. I don't see it very often. What brought it about? People, I'm guessing people love it because you change it up all the time. You guys have a different one all the time.
This is pretty much the end weekend for it for the most part. We do it typically through spring and summer because it's weather appropriate.
Yeah.
Not too many people are clamoring for a frozen beverage in January and things like that.
Makes sense.
In the Midwest.
So we started doing the beer slushies because we started seeing some stuff online at some various East Coast breweries that were doing a lot of these like really heavily fruited things before that even really took off, kind of like 2018, 2019. And we wanted to do it. We were like, that's really fun. It's just another way to get people in the door. It's a cool way to introduce people to beer that aren't necessarily big beer drinkers, if they can prefer a cocktail, a margarita, a frozen beverage, something like that. It's just a good segue because it's also a diluted version of the beer. You're not getting full strength, so you could have a couple of them and still be totally even keel.
Okay.
But we love using a lot of natural, seasonal fruits in a lot of our beers, so they translate really, really well to a slushy machine as far as freezing them up. So we're using different fruit juices, fruit purees, things like that with various beers to kind of just have fun and keep it interesting and give our crowd another option.
There you go. And people like it, right?
People love it. Yeah, when we started off on the
good.
season, we do a new one every single week. Sometimes we'll double down when it's real hot, through July and August. and we'll do different combos. And
And
sometimes
is
we
that
like to
under your
layer them
purview
and make it
too?
look real good. It's got to look pretty for
Sure.
the gram and all that.
you
so.
Do it for the gram.
So is that under your responsibility? You decide what beer is going to pair with what fruits and
Yeah,
or just
and I usually ask around for ideas. I'll have a book of stuff that's tried and true that we've been using for a couple years, and other things that if I have a wacky idea, like, hey, do you think this would work? Would people want this kind of thing? I like them myself. I just drink them too fast and get a brain freeze, so I have to stay away, because I'm a total like icy slushy person
what's
at the movie
most
theaters.
popular one?
Strawberry pineapple lager. So fresh strawberry
that
puree,
sounds
pineapple juice,
really
just with
good.
our American
Tasty.
light lager. During our anniversary party in July, I refilled that machine probably like 6 times. We had 2 drums going. So
Oh my God.
it was closer to 80, 90 degrees, and people are partying all day long. And it's a great kind of alternative beverage, but you can still have a lot of fun with it.
How would you describe we've talked about it with all the other brews. The profile, am I using the right word?
Yeah.
What like when you approach what you're going to do you have a specific like, all right, I'm going to lean heavily on this style, or I'm going to do all these styles? Where do you come down on that when you're deciding what's going to be on tap at Black Horizon?
Everywhere, all the things all the time, or whatever that movie's called. That's the best way to kind of describe us. Is we love seasonal things, we love rotating things. At 6 years going on 7 now, we want to have some core. You need to have brand awareness and a brand established. But what really got us going that in our area people loved was every week there was something new on tap. Whether we were doing just a single sixtel or half barrel of something, so we always love to have a rotation of stuff. But we lean into seasonality heavily. My Oktoberfest only released 2 weeks ago. And we wanted to keep.
Thanks for not putting it out in July.
We wanted to make sure that was stylistically there and in season, because I don't want to drink a Marzen when it's 90 degrees. It's one of my favorite styles of beer, but it's not
We
something
have talked a lot about style pushing and how it's kind of like it's almost messing up brewer calendars.
Yeah,
and
no,
kind of
definitely,
throwing you
yeah.
off and going, all right, well, we're pushing and we're pushing and we're pushing, and now I've got to get rid of the seasonal sour that I was going to do, or I've got to scrap the lager that I was going to do, because if I don't get this style out, mid-August, which still seems, tough, then you feel behind in the industry, because we're always trying to keep up with what's happening. But the sooner we release some of these things, kind of the harder it gets to keep up with the rest of your calendar.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of, we self-distribute, so we sell our own beer to the marketplace, where we see fit and where, the locals want it.
Thank you, Illinois Beer Act. We love you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, we also self-distro, so we're like,
yep,
ooh,
100%.
we love you so
Support
much,
your local
Illinois Beer
breweries,
Act. We
support
love you.
local legislation. But the distributors are kind of the ones pushing the calendar faster and faster. It's like when it's August and you're seeing Christmas stuff up at the big box stores and all that.
Right.
You're like, it's too early. But I know there's a lot of pressure from the industry, because each other major distributor usually wants to beat each other out of the gate.
Right.
They want that market share fast, quick, early, because they're representing regional brands and stuff. So for us being small, we like keeping it true to season, true to style. We're small enough that we can kind of flex our schedule. We usually don't have too many contracts or commitments to, having to have certain things other than our like main hazy West Coast and stuff like that. But for us, our whole thing is a little bit of everything all the time. We like having traditional and non-traditional.
How do you then tell your customer, or have you trained your customers over the 6 years that they know, oh, don't come in July and ask me for my Oktoberfest. It's coming. It's going to come out when it's supposed to come out. Or are they, I'm sure you get people who are trying Black Horizon for the first time, and they're like, don't you have an Oktoberfest? You go, well, here's the deal. This is when it's supposed to be.
Yeah, everybody kind of has an idea. They kind of know us at 6 years, and at least the local crowd, and kind of what to anticipate on. And our sales rep now is able to go out to the market and tell them, like, hey, if you're looking for an Oktoberfest in the season, ours is dropping around this time. So it's about getting, that kind of contact out there and, making those connections with your local vendors and stuff as well. But people have kind of an idea of when we release things truly, because we try and stay true to the season for some of those seasonals.
Black Horizon is one of the few black-owned breweries in Illinois. And one of the things that you guys did was you collaborated with the Black is Beautiful beer that came out. It was really good, and I know you guys did too, right?
We did.
So When and it can be other projects, I'm sure more will come out. There've been, we've covered it when the wildfires and things, there are all these collaborations. When something like that happens and you get wind of it and you're like, yes, I want to participate, I want our brewery to be part of this, and there's a basic recipe, how do you follow it? Do you follow it to the letter? Do you say, okay, I get the gist of what this is supposed to be, and going back to our dark beer myth from before, how do you handle something like that where you go, okay, I've got to be true to what the idea of this is, but I also have to make it, I got to put my own flair on this.
Yeah, we've done several iterations of Black is Beautiful and other collabs with all the other, Chicago Black-owned breweries. Shout out to Funky Town, Moore's Brewing, Turner House, Jay Westbrook, Sam Ross, all those guys, and especially the Haymarket crew. Yeah. They're the ones that got everybody together on a lot of those projects. So we typically would just try and stay pretty close to the style. At least for the first rendition, we did a stout. It was a rye and oat stout. And then the other iterations we kind of had some fun with because we saw people go way left, way right with the style and have fun with it. But that's also what's really creative about just that even one label is everybody was able to kind of do their own thing. And if you're chasing that down, you're going to try so many different representations of it. So you're not just drinking a stout amongst 1,000 different breweries, because I think the initial launch of it was over 1,000 breweries participating in that program.
And they were all different in some, even if it wasn't wildly different.
Oh, yeah.
They were different. You could tell that each brewer did their own thing.
Well, and one of the things about brewing, especially on smaller systems, we find in general in the industry is that if you're given I've talked about the Lego baseboard.
Yes.
On the show before. So much of beer is just like a Lego baseboard, right? So like once you have your base, then you can just build different structures on that base.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's one of those things is that everybody is going to have something slightly different because of the way that they individually put their touch onto their product, right? Because like no two hands and no two palates are the same. So even if you want to brew a stout, great. I want to brew a stout, great. They're not going to be exactly the same, but that Lego baseboard is going to be the same, and we're going to vary it within the parameters of that style and what's appropriate to that style. Because there's guidelines that, there are actual like beer style guidelines.
Sure. I didn't think you guys were just making it up on the fly.
Everyone makes it up.
I've been phoning it in for 6 years, so yeah.
You've been doing a great job.
Oh, appreciate
well
it. Thank
done.
you.
Fake it till you make it, brother.
Yeah.
I don't know
100%.
what to tell you.
Yeah.
100%.
It's great. It's great. Right? Just we're just throwing past at the wall, seeing if it sticks.
Well, it's
sometimes
water, hops,
does.
and malt. Well,
Yeah.
Yeast.
Oh, see, then I'm off. Yeast
helps. Yeast helps a little.
It
Just a
does
little
help?
bit. Just a
Right.
little bit.
Remember, that's what makes the alcohol.
You guys are the brewers. I'm not supposed to have the recipe. I'm
That's
supposed
true.
to just enjoy it.
True.
But that's
Right.
one of those things that I think is true about beer is that you could give every brewery the same exact malt,
Right.
yeast, hops, but everyone's system is different, everyone's technique is different, and so that beer will taste different everywhere, even if everybody has a linear line of raw materials. But that's what's fun about everything.
Water chemistry. We can get you can get way
Oh, yeah.
down. You can drill way down.
You can get
into
as
things
nerdy
that can-
dorky as you want with water. Those
Which is one of-
lectures were one of the best at Siebel.
Aren't those there are some things that I think we could talk about all day long. And you've mentioned life and beverage and life and alcohol and whatever. Talking about
Life and alcohol. That sounds like a great
It's kind
title.
of true, though.
I
It's kind
love
of
it.
true.
No, you live your life.
I'd like to live my life in alcohol.
Living your life in alcohol is cool because you get to examine the science of it. You get to examine the science of fermentation. You get to examine the science of water chemistry. You get to look at these things and go, all right, so I am not, and again, I've said this before on the show. You should watch the show, everyone.
Or listen.
Or listen, either one. When you live your life in alcohol and you are consumed by the chemistry and the science and the coolness that can come out of the product, you are not drinking to get blitzed. You are drinking to appreciate the craft that went into what you are consuming. And it's interesting to look at the way that all of our different brewers approach things.
And getting blitzed is just a bonus.
I mean, it sure can be. Again, like especially if it's your buddy's homebrew and you're like, know what? This is great.
This works.
But yeah, water's just so important.
It's so important. Oh my God. I got into a conversation about reverse osmosis the other day, and 30 minutes later was like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. When you're passionate,
Wow.
you're passionate. That's
We
just
don't
what
have
it
to
is.
talk about that anymore.
Yeah.
I think it's great. We'll do a whole water show. We'll just have water lined up.
Yeah.
It'll be great.
But that's the crazy part. If you did that, you would taste the difference. Higher alkalinity, higher pH, lower
absolutely.
pH, salty water, all
just
that.
from just from like I grew up with well water in the south suburbs. Now I have Chicago water or lake water. You can taste the difference. This is a question that I ask, and it is hard because it's like asking a parent who's their favorite child. I was, for the record. But
Good answer.
How many siblings do you have?
I have 4 siblings. They're all lesser.
Okay, so you weren't like the only child who got to be like, I'm your favorite. You're the only one I have to choose from.
No. I'm
the oldest?
best. I'm the oldest.
All right, high five for that one. Me too.
Dude, I'm the oldest too.
Oh, yeah.
Try fives.
Before I knock over the mic.
Sorry, Cody, you lose. No quad fives for you.
I'm going to see if what is on the Black Horizon Brewing website, which is blackhorizonbrewing.com,
correct.
is correct. What is your no looking at the notes? What is your favorite beer that you brew? Your favorite Black Horizon beer?
Year round or seasonal or ever?
Go with.
It's hard to,
I guess it's year round. I'm going from what you have.
If I'm going to go year round right now,
yeah, your core.
Surf King, our West Coast style IPA.
Okay, well then
I'm a hoppy boy. I'm
it
a
is
bitter
time
boy.
to update the website. Your website said you like 3 Putt for a Par was your favorite.
I do love 3 Putt for Par. That just came out this week.
All right,
so,
and it's your favorite already?
And it's a hoppy Kolsch, so it's a nice hoppy boy.
Very
so.
nice. All right, very good.
But yeah, I'd say I generally lean towards hoppier things.
Okay.
If I'm going to drink beer.
But you're not opposed to brewing things that are not as hoppy because
No, I love them
there's
all.
some people who.
There's only one style of beer I probably wouldn't drink too much
Wait.
of.
Oh
This
no,
is
this
so
is
great.
it.
This is-
Good.
There's your
Hold on,
segue right
because this
there.
is
It really is.
that's a question we ask everybody.
Oh, yeah. It's
everybody's
The hill
question.
you'll die on. The one beer you will not brew.
Say it. Say
Rausch beer.
Oh, this is a first.
Right,
Okay,
because
great,
I knew
great.
the answer was going to be different. Why Rausch? First of all, for those who don't know, what is Rausch beer, and why do you hate Rausch beer?
I wouldn't say hate. I would not say hate because
All
there are
right.
some beautiful versions out there, but it's not something I gravitate towards or lean towards. But a Rausch beer is a smoked beer, typically of a German style. So it's going to be a lot more almost stoutish, Bach-ish with that kind of nice peaty
Yes.
smokiness to it. I love smoked vegetables
Yes,
and meats and all that.
please.
It's just I don't want it in my beverage.
Okay, fair enough.
And that's it. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. You could braise with it. You could do so many other things. But if I'm sitting down and it's one of those beers you can't have more than 1 or 2 of, depending on the level of smoke.
It's also a really hard food beer because you can smoke so many different kinds of food,
Yeah.
but pairing a smoked beer with any food is challenging because of what it does to your palate.
I've had it with barbecue. That's the only time.
I mean, it
And
makes
I
sense,
enjoy it.
sure.
Right, you're just layering levels of
Yeah.
smoke, which
Well,
isn't a
right.
bad
Which-
thing at all. And that's
it's
probably
not.
the most appropriate. I mean, a Rausch is great food beer. Like
Yeah.
that is one of those things that if you're gonna drink a lot of that beer, you should be having that with a meal. But
Oh,
you
yeah,
know, if
with
I-
a meal, yeah, I just find them
And what
always
would
hard
you
to,
smoke?
pair.
This is a silly question. I know, Cody, I saw the light, but just like all our years on radio, I'm ignoring it.
So rude.
He's used to it.
So rude.
He's used. We've worked together for
You
15
feel the producer
years.
vibes over
He
there.
knows.
It's good. It's
he
good.
knows.
Yeah.
What would you smoke the hot? What gets smoked to make a smoked beer?
The malt.
The
So you're
malt,
taking
okay.
a certain malt, and there's tons of different styles of malt that you can smoke, and then depending on the wood you use to smoke it is going to give you different flavors as well.
Okay, our last question, another one that we ask every brewer who comes on. A beer that you've brewed, and people might have been really in love with it. You might have been in love with it, but you're like, I'm not doing that one again.
It's actually one we do fairly often. I would say I have a love-hate relationship with, which is our milkshake IPA.
Yes,
Boom.
yes,
So-
yes.
People love it.
Okay.
I have no problem making it, but it's
Right.
not something I drink.
The reason we're
At all.
laughing, we have asked every brewer so far, what beer, either the one you will never brew or the one
The
that
hill,
you
right.
won't do again.
Yeah, yeah.
Milkshake IPA has been mentioned
In
every
single
episode.
Yeah,
brew at
yeah.
every.
It's because there
And
was
I knew you guys did it.
Oh,
That's
and-
why
yeah.
I laughed when
Oh,
it didn't come up as
okay,
Rausch
nice.
beer
All right.
because I knew you guys did them.
and I have a pumpkin pie version of it in my tank right now. So it's one of those things that we do. And
Okay.
we happily do.
Sure,
But it's
'cause
just not
people
my
like 'em.
direct consumption beverage
Okay.
that I go to and stuff. But I won't knock it because we were one of the ones in our area that was doing it kind of early and wanted to really do a good version of them because a lot of times you were just seeing these New Englands with just a ton of lactose thrown in there and stuff. So we were always trying to find that balance of sweetness. And we think we have a very tasty one, Sugar Bomb. And it's just one that we still make. It's not that we won't make it ever again. It's just one that I typically don't drink a lot of.
Very nice. Black Horizon
and
Brewing
diplomatic
Company
and wonderful.
is in Willowbrook, Illinois at 7560 South Quincy Street. BlackHorizonBrewing.com is the website. Alex Stankus is the co-owner and head brewer. Stick around. Well, you're going to stick around because what are you going to do? Get up and leave the table? This isn't the Carson show.
Be awkward and weird.
We're going to move into
We are, as soon as we ask Alex one last thing, and that is how can
please.
people follow you on the socials?
Oh, yeah. What are your socials?
Oh, yes. You can follow us at BlackHorizonBrewing.com, at Black Horizon Brewing on Instagram. That's the same link to Facebook because those companies own each other.
They sure do.
We're done with Twitter or X or whatever that is. So
move.
we don't do that. We're on Untapped, so you can find us at Black Horizon Brewing on Untapped as well. We're pretty active there. We love people checking in. And then just come into the tap room.
Yeah, come into the tap room. It's cool. Get
Even
get a
better,
slushy while
come in
you
person.
can.
Yeah.
And then come in and have whatever. And have an Oktoberfarce because we
need to open one.
We need to open them because
We need to open one.
They're good. I'm going to open it
Because they're good.
Because they're good.
Because we need to have this because
We
it's
need-
good.
Listen, again, I don't need to know the technical terms. I know.
No, I
people-
just like that the rationale is like, you know why I need this? Because it's good.
it's good.
This is how I
He's
operate
not wrong.
I want to
You're not
drink
wrong.
good beer.
No, my entire consumption philosophy for everything in my life is because it's good.
Right,
I don't care if
everything-
it's a bag of Cheetos or if it's going over to Aviary and getting like the greatest cocktail of my life. I'm going to do it because it's good.
Trust me,
So,
I
Do you
had
say
it.
the same thing about Malort?
I love Malort. I did a shop before the show.
There you go.
I love
She's
Malort.
all
Well, thank
liquored
you
up.
for the offer, jeez.
When we finish.
Yeah,
Actually,
well-
I will parkour this bar and get it for you right now.
No, if I had this beer before and I was on the fence, I would have left them. So of course I'm going to have it because it's good, but I'm also going to have it because Alex was nice enough to bring it, and it's a good segue while I pour for us to move in. Now, Alex, please feel free to jump in on this. Every week we shine a harsh light on bad customer behavior, and Katherine is the keeper of all the bad stories, but as a person who works with the public, I'm sure you have some input and insight on this. I hear you were mislabeled.
I was mislabeled.
Real quick. If you want to grab glasses and pour the Oktoberfest for this part,
I do.
Why don't you do that? I can break and make a cut here.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so this is the Oktoberfarce that Alex brought with him, and it's one that you mentioned before. You did when you were a home brewer. It's that nice Marzen where it's that golden
It's a
color.
gorgeous
It's very
color.
it looks fantastic. What if people come into Black Horizon Brewing Company, and they should? I don't know why you wouldn't get to Willowbrook, Illinois. Even if you're out of state, if you're out of the country, Willowbrook, scenic.
It's happening.
What will people expect when they drink Oktoberfarce?
Yeah, so the Oktoberfarce is really fun. It's a Marzen-style fest beer. So we have fun with it because we brew it 100% like a true German Marzen. The farce is that we finish it with Kolsch yeast.
Oh, that's
So
interesting.
it is not a true German lager, but we do cold condition and finish it with an ale yeast.
Right, but
in
you
a
also
Kolsch
don't
yeast.
have to wait a million weeks
Correct.
for it to
Yeah,
finish,
we turn this
which is great.
around in about 4 weeks. So our
That's nice.
farce about it is we do a Marzen, but we finish it as an ale style with Kolsch yeast, which is probably one of the closest yeast that gets you to a lager mouthfeel, texture, cleanness on the finish. So we have all that nice, beautiful biscuit, melanoid, and toastiness in there.
It is delicious. I think one of
is
the things,
great.
I mean, I am also a wine human, so like the first thing I do is always like look at the color of just about everything.
Oh yeah, we love clarity on it too. Yeah.
Oh, it's absolutely beautiful. It's so malty and it's just enough. Biscuity is one of those beer words that I think some people have a problem with identifying until you identify it specifically of like, what do you mean? Do you mean like a buttermilk biscuit? No, I don't mean a buttermilk biscuit at all. I mean biscuit in the very British English sense of like a biscuit that you can taste cracker style almost, right?
Yeah,
It's
I always
just
use
delightful.
the word toasted brioche for everything because I'm a foodie and I'm a dork. So
Toasted brioche is
Yeah,
a
toasted brioche, little light nuttiness. You're gonna get that beautiful caramel and a touch of noble hop to it. But the whole idea is to be really clean, easy drinking, and kind of a sneaky sipper, right around 6%.
Fantastic. Well,
I like that.
Prost
It's
to being
delicious.
a little bit
It's
nutty and
delicious.
very biscuity.
toasted
absolutely.
brioche-ness. We love it so much.
Prost.
Cheers.
All right. Now we must.
This
It is
beer's
very-
so good.
It is very.
It's like really good.
I'm glad you like.
Did
Yeah,
you
it's
turn your mic
delicious.
on? To
My
throw
mic
that
is on, yes.
All right, Cody's jumping in
I'm
now.
not just gonna yell off mic into the ether of the show. Hey
Things have-
guys, I'm on the street over here.
Things have taken quite a turn.
No, Alex,
this is-
we both apologize and thank you for the inspiration for us to go completely off the rails.
That's what I'm here for.
I'm sorry. Like the other episodes have been completely professional. I've listened to them.
No, you're right. You're not wrong.
All right,
You're
but it is time, Alex. Please jump in. We are going to, as I mentioned before, the abrupt cut. To
I'll
get
be
beers.
really upset if anybody can jump in on this one because it means that somebody has done this other places, and I don't want what happened to me to happen to other people.
What
so,
happened to you? This
It
sounds
wasn't even-
traumatic.
It was traumatic at the time, and now it's just part of like the lore that happens here. Most of our stories about bad customer behavior I draw from here because this is
where bad
This
customers
is where
come.
it's not where bad customers come. That's not true. We love
Some
everybody.
Of them, we do too, except the bad ones.
Right, except
There
every
are
now
some
and
bad
again, the general
ones.
public is out in the general public, and they can not always be kind and not always be nice and not always have common sense, and that's fine. In the early days of the shop, it was a Saturday night. I had two bartenders behind the bar, and I was... Actually, it was one of these tables that we're sitting at right now. I did not tap the table, I promise. Just then I did not touch the table. It was one of these two, and they were in the back of the space at the time. So I was cleaning the tables, and I was closing the shop, and they were closing the bar. And there was a gentleman that was in here of a generation that is one above me, which is the boomer generation, which is, that's just, they're getting tough, they're getting challenging, and that's okay.
I feel targeted.
You're not a boomer. We've talked about this before. You're an elder X.
I don't like the elder part, but go ahead. Tell your story.
I will.
I'll sit here
Just-
and,
I will.
I'll be a quiet old man.
Great job. Okay, so I'm wiping things down, and one of the bartenders asks a question back there. Something like, hey, do you want me to do whatever? And I was like, yeah, that'd be great. Wiping the tables, doing some sweeping, whatever. Guy's at the bar, and he goes, why are you talking to her? And the bartender says, well, what do you mean? And he says, never mind. And goes back, and he's finishing his beer, and I'm cleaning up the tables, and these guys are doing the bar. Another different one of the two is like, hey, I'm going to do the drawer. Is that cool? And I was like, absolutely. Do the drawer. Let's get it going. Like, it's 11:59. We close at midnight. Like, let's go. To which then our boomer friend says, why are you asking the help anything? And I remember, like, I had a rag in one hand and a bottle of, like, Simple Green in the other. And I looked up and I go, what? And he goes, I mean, you're the maid, right?
The maid in a bar?
Right. And I was like, no. And I walk over to the bar and I go behind the bar and he looks very puzzled and he says, well, why are you back there? And my two at this point are like grabbing their hands so tightly together that to keep from either laughing or strangling one of the two, we'll never know.
It's laughing.
It was laughing.
It's
and
laughing.
and I was like, oh, I said I asked permission first to come back here, and they're just dying. And then they've now moved, and they're like flanking. Like I had one behind one side of me and one on the other side of me. And this guy just will not let up. And he looked at the taller of the two bartenders and was like, I just don't understand why you are giving the help the time of day and why you're asking permission from this woman to do anything.
Back in my day when I fought the Nazis,
Right.
women never stood behind
And
the bar,
right.
and they were maids. They were maids, and that was it.
What, are you the maid? And my guys were like, this is either going to end really funny or really bad. And, like, we need to be done with the conversation. And it just continued on and on and on. And we all just kind of sat there and went, we can't believe that this kind of actual sexism is a thing that is happening right now. And it's just like, the help. And I was like, this is offensive for so many reasons.
Alex, your take. Do maids belong behind a bar?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, good. We love maids. We love housekeepers. We love scullery maids. I like chambermaids to change my chamber pot.
Again, welcome to 1880.
That's right.
I mean, I'm
That's
one
what
of the maids
doing.
at Black Horizon, so I,
This
you
is
know,
right.
Are you one of the maids?
oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely. I'm always cleaning.
Which is what, like, the joke at the end of the night after this guy left and we brought out the Malort was like, all right, so your business card now says the maid, or does it say mom, or does it say the help? Like, what do you want it to say?
Did you serve him some sort of horrific pie?
No, I looked at him and I go, I'm the owner. Get the fuck out.
Wow.
And that was, I've only sworn at a customer twice in 8.5 years, and that was the first time.
What was his
reaction? It was also
reaction?
the first time I've sworn on our show, which my mom is going to watch.
No, it's not.
Hey. Yeah, it is. Oh, I said shit once.
Twice.
Check the tape, Cody.
Well played, everyone. Well played.
So
This is the content you came here for.
When you told him that, there's like, how dare you, woman?
It was
You
real.
don't speak to me that way.
And like I've got more. This one, I don't know why this one was sticking with me this week because I was doing a lot of like cleaning and organizing and stuff here, and all I could think about was
you're
like,
the help.
yeah, like you're just the help. And I was like, yeah, I guess, because 99% of business ownership
his defense,
is janitorial work. That's all you're doing is cleaning.
Did you have 2 male bartenders that night?
Sure did.
Of course. Then why are you confused?
Shouts to Chris George and Cody Shelley. Shouts to my guys.
Why do you not see that as...
Sure, obviously, because there were 3 men in the... No, you're right.
That's
Silly
right.
Silly me. And there ends our tale of bad customer behavior for this episode. And I feel like this was kind of a letdown because it was a little bit of a letdown.
I think it's great. Alex, have you ever been called the help or the maid? I know you said you're the maid at Black Horizon Brewing Company, but you're the head brewer. We don't believe that. Has anybody ever called you just that guy, or why are you letting this young punk come in? Anything like that?
Again,
Yeah,
this one.
Yeah, definitely. I tend bar on Mondays, every Monday, so I'm usually there. And if people don't see me at the bar on like Friday or Saturday night, because I try and have somewhat of a personal life as much as I can, even though I'm there all the time. I used to be there. Me and Kevin and Charles, my other partners, used to solely run the tap room when we first opened for almost 2 years ourselves.
That's the biz,
so we,
right?
people got to know us and see us all the time. But then now that I've kind of moved away from that, just with the need of canning and production and all that, and just more day-to-day ops that I'm not seeing around as much. But I kind of like being like my own undercover boss, because then I get to do my own thing and provide like ridiculous customer service, because I put on my customer service voice, it goes up a pitch, all of that. But you get a lot of unfiltered things, so people are a lot more honest and blunt about certain things with that. But it happens, not to that degree, fortunately by us. But yeah, I mean, people just will be like, oh yeah, what do you do here? I'm like, oh well,
I made what you're drinking.
Stuff.
Stuff.
I do stuff.
Things with beer.
They keep me around.
But it's fun to have those conversations when you really go at length with somebody, and then all of a sudden they're like, are you the brewer or something? You're like, yeah, and the owner. And then like, oh, yeah. And then all of a sudden their tone changes and stuff.
Oh, there's number 3.
Yeah, you get to have that kind of fun, unfiltered experience sometimes. Again, not to your experience and your degree. I would not tolerate any of that myself as well. And you have to, ride a fine line of, engagement and not totally kicking people out. But there are reasons that you remove people from the establishment.
Yeah.
People need to be removed.
Sometimes.
Our thanks again to Alex Stankus. He's the co-owner and head brewer at Black Horizon Brewing Company, 7560 South Quincy Street in Willowbrook, Illinois. You can go to blackhorizonbrewing.com. Follow them on all the socials at Black Horizon Brewing. Well, thank you for listening. Join us next time when we go from grade to glass with another fantastic craft brewery. Katherine, what should people do?
They should like and follow and share and subscribe all over the interwebs. We can be found on Apple Podcasts. We can be found on Spotify, which does have a visual platform as well. We can be found on YouTube. We can also be found on Instagram at crafty_brewers_pod. Again, like, follow, share, subscribe. Do all of those things, please and thank you.
And if you are a brewery that would like to join us, or you have a suggestion for a brewery that you would like us to talk to, drop us an email, craftybrewerspod@gmail.com.
So official.
Crafty Brewers, Tales Behind Craft Beer is produced by the one and only Cody Goff. We record it every time here at Exit Strategy Brewing Company in Forest Park, Illinois.
He's Brian Noonan.
She's Katherine Vao. Any parting words?
2 + 2 does not always equal 4.
What does that mean?
Nothing. It means nothing, but that's half the point.